Welcome to the Sports Talks 4133 YouTube channel. So, if you guys didn't know, I just posted my daily Sports Talks, but I'm going to be talking today here about my reactions on all the NFL games from Week 17. So, let's begin it actually on the Christmas games. We'll just kind of go right down the order of times the games happened. So, we'll start off here. Chiefs dominate the Steelers 29-10 on Christmas Day. I know, it feels like it was forever ago that game might have been. But yeah, that game was Week 17. Chiefs now 15-1 on the season. They got one game left against the Denver Broncos, which they're going to be seeing their starters in. Kansas City, and I'm going to say this right now. Kansas City is going to, I will be super shocked if this Kansas City team does not win the AFC. There is no team in my mind in the AFC right now that can win this, that can win the AFC other than Kansas City. Why? Because Kansas City, first off, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, 15-1. They're the number one seed in the AFC. Their road will go through our head. There's not a single team that I think can win the AFC besides Kansas City. Buffalo, oh, wow, they beat them in the regular season. Doesn't matter. They can't beat them in the postseason. And it's in Arrowhead? Yeah, no shot. Baltimore? No. Pittsburgh just got blown out. Texans? No. They also just lost. There is not a team in the AFC right now that I think can win the AFC other than Kansas City. I'm sorry. And it's the truth. Kansas City is the best team in the AFC by far. Kansas City is here. Everybody else is down here. It's straight, simple, to the point. Kansas City is going to win the AFC, and if they don't win the AFC, I will be shocked. Because last year they were the 3 seed. They had to go to Buffalo and Baltimore and still made it to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. And then 2 years ago, before that, they were the 1 seed. Look what happened. The only team in my mind I think can even have a shot at beating Kansas City right now is the Cincinnati Bengals. Why? Because the Cincinnati has a great offense. They beat Kansas City in the postseason before. Doesn't mean that I think they will. I don't think they're even going to make the playoffs. Kansas City is going to dominate the NFC in the playoffs, and it's going to suck to say. I think there's 3 teams in the NFC that can easily contend with Kansas City: Detroit, Philadelphia, and Minnesota. Maybe even Green Bay, honestly. But the AFC side of things, if you have to go to Arrowhead, you're not winning. Sorry. Next, for the Steelers. Now 3 straight losses. They dropped 10-6 on the year. They pretty much just choked the division away. So Baltimore just has to beat Cleveland on Saturday to get the AFC locked up. My eyes right now with how the Steelers look is that this Pittsburgh team is going to be a first-round exit. The Steelers are going to lose in the first round. Why? Because they are going to be either the 5 or 6 seed. I'm pretty sure they could actually drop a spot if Pittsburgh loses and the Chargers win on Sunday against the Raiders. So, not to mention, they're probably the 5 seed, right? They're going to have to go on the road to Houston, which, let's be honest, Houston's a great team. And I know we're going to talk about them just, getting blown out by the Ravens by 29 points. But Houston's a good team. I know they're 9-7, but they are a team that is going to give the Steelers a lot of problems. Say they win that, there is I would say 85% chance you're going to Kansas City. So you just lost by 19 at home against Kansas City. Just imagine going on the road to play Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead Stadium. It's just, the Steelers are going to be lucky to win 1 playoff game. They're not going to win 2 playoff games. Straight and simple. Let's move on. We have Ravens beating the Texans 31-2 on Christmas. If you remember that game, the Beyonce concert at halftime. Did not take away how much the Ravens dominated the Houston Texans in this one. You look at this, I think this shows you Lamar deserves MVP. I said it. Lamar should be the MVP winner. You look at the look, and real quick, I do think Burrow is in it. Because I do not think that quarterback stat should be wins. They're not. They're one player. It's a 53-man roster. Does not mean that one player determines how great of a team you are. That's why I think Joe Burrow is still in the conversation. Allen, Burrow, and Lamar. And it's sad to see that it's really a quarterback bias stat, because I definitely think Saquon Barkley could be in the conversation. Am I an Eagles fan? I'm biased, sure. But Saquon is 100 yards away from the rushing record, which we'll talk about more in a bit. But still, Ravens dominate this game. I think there was nothing to take away more than this Baltimore team is going to win the AFC, and they are going to be a legitimate problem until they go to Kansas City. The Texans, in my eyes right now, this is exactly what happened last year. This Texans team was a kind of alive, kind of not in the regular season. Obviously, they beat the Colts to get that 4 spot. They were an underdog at home against the Browns and blew them out. Could they do that to Pittsburgh, or LA, or Baltimore, whoever it may be? Maybe. But if they're playing Baltimore again, we're getting the exact same thing, just a playoff game, and I think we know what's going to happen. Let's move on. We have Seattle and Chicago met on Thursday night. Seattle wins 6-3. I'm talking about football here. I'm not talking about baseball or hockey. Now, we are talking about the NFL. I'm going to be honest. Let's start with the Bears. This has just turned into such a hard year for the Bears. Because they looked good. I was promised for a second out of this team. They were 4-2, and they've now lost 10 games straight. They were one of the teams to beat in the NFC. They were. And then the downfall kind of began from that Hail Mary. That Hail Mary ruined their season. Because once that happened, so did everything else. Blocked field goals, getting blown out by bad teams. And I think the Bears were close to being something great. But they're not there yet. They're not there yet. Caleb Williams is the franchise guy. He is. And I know you do look at a lot of the stats and go, oh, this guy's actually having a terrible year for his rookie season. But on the other hand, this guy's got some great stats as well. So I think the Bears are going to be fine next year. Do I think they're going to be a playoff team? No, I don't. But I do think they're going to contend with, maybe being a wild card team, maybe sneaking into the 7th spot, maybe 7 or 8 wins next year. Something, nothing crazy. But yeah, and Seattle. Let's talk about them now. They're 9-7 on the year, but they did get eliminated on Sunday, yesterday, with that loss. With the Commanders winning because the Rams had the strange schedule and all that. So, Seattle's eliminated. But this Seattle team is terrible. Terrible. The defense, all right, sure, you stepped up. Congrats. You allowed the Bears to 3 points. So did the Patriots. The Cardinals did that too. You put up 6 points against the Chicago Bears. Seattle does not deserve to be in the playoffs. When you don't have a single touchdown against a team that's now lost 10 games straight, you do not deserve to be a playoff team. And that's exactly why they are. I am glad that the Rams clinched the NFC West and Seattle cannot make the playoff. Because they do not deserve to be in there. They do not have a good team. Sure, their offense is all right until that happens. 6-3 against the Bears. Also needs to be talked about real quick. Does Thursday Night Football need to get rid? Do they need to get rid of it? So that was also I was going to talk about here. And I don't necessarily want them to, but they might have to. You look at the Thursday night games this year, you know how many games are these bad scoring games? What was our best Thursday night game of the year? Let's think. I would say it's week 1, Chiefs versus Ravens. They had rest. It was the opening game of the year. They didn't have the regular season game before that. They didn't have 4 days of rest. Thursday Night Football might have to get rid of it. And as much as I love football and love talking about it and watching it and everything, does not take away the fact that I think they might have to get rid of Thursday Night Football. I mean, you look at the last 3 weeks. 6-3. You're right. Chargers-Broncos was a great game. You're right. Week before that, 12-6 in the Rams-Niners. Finally, we'll just look at every game in December. The other game was another good game with the Packers and the Lions, 34-31. But you're also looking at this and going, well, all right, what's your point here? 2 out of the 4 games were amazing. That might be true, but you know also how many injuries there are on Thursday Night Football? You know how many boring games we've had on Thursday Night Football this year? And it's nothing to do with Prime or anything like that. It just so happens to be that Thursday Night Football is these bad games because you don't have enough rest. We'll compare the two real quick. Compare to a Thursday Night Football game and just a normal Sunday, but even a Monday Night Football game. Look at those two comparisons real quick. You're going to see how much of a crazy difference. We had a 6-3 game, and yesterday we had a 40-34 game. Let's look at the Saturday games here. Chargers dominate the New England Patriots 40-7. going now to 10-6 and clinching a playoff spot. Congrats to Jim Harbaugh. Let's give him a round of applause real quick as the Chargers are going to the postseason. Jim Harbaugh, and there was this conversation I had earlier this year on this podcast. We talked about who was better, Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh, coach. And I said John Harbaugh because he has a Super Bowl and Jim doesn't, but Jim has a national title. But you look at the head-to-heads between the two of them. I now starting to think it's Jim Harbaugh. I'm legitimately saying that it might be Jim Harbaugh. Let me tell you why. When Jim Harbaugh came to coach the 49ers sucked. He comes in, coaches them, they were good. He left, they suck. Simple. Comes that coach of Michigan. When he joined there, they were all right. They weren't good. They weren't terrible. They were all right. He comes there, and the last 3 years that he was at Michigan, 3 playoff appearances, 3 Big Ten titles, 3 college football playoff appearances, and a national champion. Goes to LA. Last year, the Chargers sucked. Look at them this year, buddy. In the postseason. The Chargers, and now here's the thing. The Chargers are probably the 6th seed, so they're probably going to have to go to Baltimore first round. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But shout out to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, really, this guy has done an amazing job this year, and every year he's coached, of turning a bad team into a great team. And I know the Patriots are 3-13. They now control their own path to the #1 overall pick. But still, good job, Jim Harbaugh. Let's actually move in. I'm going to skip over the Broncos-Bengals. The game was so good I want to talk about it. Actually, no, we'll talk about it now. The Bengals beat the Broncos on Saturday 30-24 in a phenomenal game we had there. I mean, you looked at the beginning of this game, and you were first watching this game, we were going, oh my gosh, this is hard to watch. 3-0 after the first quarter, 7-3 at halftime, 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. And we were all going, can this game just end already? And then what brought us that fourth quarter / overtime was this arguably game of the year. And I know a lot of people are going, I don't know about that. And that's your opinion, you know. But I actually think this might be game of the year. There's some other games obviously in the conversation, for sure. I'll give, at the end of the regular season, I'll give my game of the year award. I think that Cincinnati versus, and you look at it first, the overtime, the fourth quarter real quick. You had, in that fourth quarter, the Joe Burrow touchdown. Then Bo Nix goes 51 yards to Mims. Then the Bengals score with 1:29 left. Then Bo Nix throws up kind of like a Patrick Mahomes when they played the Bucs in the Super Bowl. Arizona hopes someone's down there, and Marvin Mims catches it for a touchdown to tie this game up and go to overtime. And then obviously in overtime, the craziest we had. The Bengals missed a chip shot field goal. They turned out winning it. Goes to T. Higgins. This game, I think, is game of the year right now because how much was also on the line. Broncos win. They're in the playoffs, and there's nothing to really worry about in the AFC side of the picture. But the Bengals come out, and they win the football game. They won a close football game. Congrats to the Bengals for winning a close football game. And are still alive going into Week 18. And obviously, they need a lot of help. They need to beat the Steelers. They need the Broncos to lose to Carson Wentz and the Kansas City Chiefs who have all their backups in. They need the Dolphins to lose to the Aaron Rodgers Jets. So they need a few things to happen, but it's not terrible. I do think the Broncos are still end up making the playoffs. I just think they're going to beat Carson Wentz-led Chiefs. But still, Rams versus Cardinals. Actually, real quick, I actually want to go back to the other game real quick between Broncos and Bengals real quick. Some other things. This Bengals team did exactly what they needed to do in this one. And that was just know how to... And here's my other thing real quick. And this is actually poor coaching on the Bengals side of the ball here. Why are we letting the Broncos get the ball back? Why were the Bengals scoring with 1.5 minutes left? Genuine question. Why? And I know it turned out being fine, they won the football game. But still, why? The fact that you could have took that down in about 30 seconds or so made it a lot harder for the Broncos. You give them an extra minute probably to work with. And Bo Nix took advantage, and he scores a touchdown. That was poor coaching skills. But they turned out winning the game, so it's fine. But still, it needs to be addressed. This Bengals coaching needs to be figured out if they want to make it. Obviously, they have to beat the Steelers on Saturday night, which can be really tough. But they could do it. They theoretically could do it. I don't think they will. Actually, let me rephrase this. If the Ravens lose, I'm pretty sure the Steelers are locked in at the 5 seed. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. Actually, I'll see if I can quickly check that out for you real quick. Because I'm not exactly sure. Yes, they are. They are. Yes. Because the Steelers beat the Chargers head-to-head this year. That's right. So, I'm pretty sure that the Steelers are locked in at their spot. However, I'm not sure if the Broncos could jump ahead. Probably not. But I'm not exactly sure. Let me see if I can get a quick check here. The Broncos also lost to the Steelers. That's right. So, the Steelers, if the Ravens were to win against the Browns, which they're 17.5-point favorites, I bet they do. I think there's a good chance that the Steelers are going to rest their starters. Because that's the thing about week 18. If you can rest your starters for a week before the playoffs, that's amazing. That's great stuff right there. And I think that there's a good chance that's going to happen. My guess is the Steelers are going to take a very close look. They're going to let Russ and all of them warm up. And then if they see that, the outcome of that game, maybe they only put them in for a first quarter. And then the Bengals get that win. And now just hope back and we'll hope for 2 things on Sunday to happen right your way. All you can do is just watch and just hope you can get in. And finally here, the Rams beat the Cardinals 13-9 on Saturday. To the Rams now who won the NFC West. That wasn't what turned out happening for them to win the NFC West. But they won the NFC West. The Cardinals' downfall needs to be studied. This team had a shot at getting into the playoffs. Like a great shot at winning the NFC West. And it's been on a fall off ever since. I thought this Cardinals team actually had a great shot. I thought taking Marvin Harrison there was a great pick. Kyle Murray and him were going to go off this year. Did they go off this year like how I thought they were? No, I thought we were going to see a bit more. But Marvin Harrison still had a pretty solid year. And you can't take it away the fact that he had an all right year and the Cardinals had a chance. They did, but they blew it away. But for the Rams, finishing 10-6 on the year, it looks they're going to be resting their starters because there's nothing for them to play. That's what sounds like McVay's going to do. So they're going to finish the year 10-7. Guarantee you ask any Rams fan back in week 4 if they would be happy at 10-7 in the 3 seed in the NFC. 1,000% they would take it. 1,000%. Let's move in now to the Sunday games. Let's just go down here. Giants beat the Colts. This is hilarious. And the funniest thing is, because the Giants lose their last 2 games, they have the number 1 overall pick, and they're probably getting Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, whoever that may be. And they're going to do something. But instead, they lose. They win, and it really was a loss for them in a way. Because they lost their number 1 overall pick. And the good chance, they're playing the Eagles. The Eagles are locked into 2. There is a very good chance that the Giants are also going to meet the Eagles because the Eagles have no starters in. Which we'll get to more in a minute. Indianapolis. You're playing, at the time, the 2-13 Colts. You win. You have a shot at the playoffs, but you lost? How do you let the Giants put up 45 points on you? That's terrible. They made Malik Nabers look like the best receiver in the NFL by far. Malik Nabers had 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. Don't get me wrong, love Malik Nabers. But this Giants team sucks. Sucks. It's a joke. And the funniest thing is after the game, Drew Lock and all of them being like, this one's for the fans, man. Just had to finally get them a win at home this year. We love their support. The Giants fans were booing after the Giants were scoring touchdowns. They want the number 1 overall pick. They don't care. They just want some meaningless football game against the Colts. They don't care. It doesn't mean anything. This is the most Giants thing they could have done. Really is. And the Giants are going to play the Eagles this Sunday, which I'll get to more after we talk about the Eagles game. There's some really funny stuff on the line. Bills beat the Jets 40-14 in a game where it actually looked like the Jets actually had a shot at winning. It was only 12-0 at the half. And then the third quarter rolled in, and the fourth quarter rolled in, and the Bills just dominated. 40-14. And real quick, if I'm the New York Jets, I am cutting Aaron Rodgers. I am so serious when I say this. I would cut Aaron Rodgers the second the season is over. And I would consider starting Tyrod Taylor or trading for some quarterback over the offseason. I mean, one guy they may be able to trade for is Kirk Cousins. I mean, it looks like they're going to start going to Penix. Aaron Rodgers against the Jets. Against the Bills. Rodgers goes 12 for 18, 112 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. This is the guy that you're paying to be your quarterback? I mean, seriously. Tyrod Taylor comes in, goes 11 for 14, 83 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's enough being said. Tyrod Taylor should, if the Jets don't do anything for a quarterback this offseason, they should start Tyrod Taylor, cut Aaron Rodgers, and get some money back. Because they were robbed in plain sight. Aaron Rodgers is terrible. Terrible. The Jets are now 4-12 on the year. They traded, we didn't have Aaron Rodgers. Oh, we're going to be great this year. You trust. We have Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall. Oh, we have a great receiver. We're trading for Devontae Adams. We're going to be some great team. No, you aren't. Because you are going to finish the year 4-13. The Dolphins are going to beat you, and you are going to finish 4-13 on the year. The Jets' Super Bowl this year was beating the Texans on Thursday Night Football on Halloween night. That's all they talk about. Is that winning? Oh, the Garrett Wilson catch. Garrett Wilson's not getting you the playoffs. Unbelievable. And for the Bills, the funniest thing is too, is they took Josh Allen out after a bit. They let Mitchell Trubisky go in, throw one pass for 69 yards. I mean, the Jets are a joke. They really are a joke. Let's move on now. The Jaguars beat the Colts. The Jaguars beat the Titans 20-13. And I'm proud of the Jaguars for getting the win. You know, it's fun to see. You know, someone's gonna have to win this football game. It just so happened to be the Jaguars. And I really got nothing to take away from this one, besides the fact that the Titans are going to get a better draft pick than the Jaguars. Jaguars got pushed out of the top 5 now for a draft pick because they're 4-12. So I don't really have much to take away from this one, to be honest with you guys. So we're going to move on. Raiders beat the Saints 25-10. What are you doing, Las Vegas? This team was in prime position after their Monday night game back on December 16th to not only get the number one pick, but it looked like it was going to be super easy. And then you decide we're going to win 2 straight games against the Jaguars and the Saints? What are you doing? You need a quarterback. I'm sorry, Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are not getting you anywhere. I'm sorry. Brock Bowers had a great year for the Raiders, don't get me wrong, but it was also, this Raiders team needs to restart. If they're in their own dynasty or whatever it is, franchise, you guys just delete that John and restart. Because they have nothing to look forward to. Who is their second best weapon on that team? Obviously, Brock Bowers. Let's think. Probably Jacoby Myers. It's bad. It's bad. And the fact that they're winning games now, and they're just going to get a worse draft pick, if I'm the Raiders right now, I don't even know where I'm starting. They need so much, I don't know who to take if you're the Raiders. Terrible stuff right there from Las Vegas. Bucks beat the Panthers 48-14. And I'm going to be honest, I'm an Eagles fan, right? Huge Philly sports guy. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers scare me. They do. Why? Because when this Bucks team... let me rephrase this. When this Bucks team gets hot, they are one of the hardest teams to beat in the NFL. Look what they did against the Lions. Look what they did against the Eagles. And I know the Eagles had very few players in that game. Everyone was hurt in week 4. I mean, they're fine now. This Bucks team, when they get hot, is scary. They're 9-7. They are a win away against, I believe, the New Orleans Saints. Yes, the New Orleans Saints, from being in the postseason and being the 4 seed. And I am going to pray that the Minnesota Vikings beat them. Because and I mean, you're because they beat you last year. And that was a downfall year. That's not like why I'm scared about them. It's that they are a great team when they are hot. They have so many weapons on this team. Baker Mayfield's having a great year again. Mike Evans is probably going to get his 1,000 yards. And this Bucs team is going to be a scary team in the playoff. They just won 48-14 over the Carolina Panthers. They're not 4-12. So the Panthers are 4-12. The thing about Carolina is they had like those few wins. But now you look at it and go, oh, why did we do that? You know? And finally, in the 1 o'clock slate, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the terrible Dallas Cowboys 41-7, led by Kenny Pickett. And the Eagles beat them by 34 points. The Dallas Cowboys are terrible. I don't know how the Bucs lost them. I really don't. You let a Kenny Pickett led, also Tanner McKee in there as well, and you let the Eagles beat you by 34? And then Micah Parsons has the audacity after the game to go into, the locker room or whatever and say, this game was only different by about 5 plays. Shut up. This was a blowout. Micah Parsons, stop with this, with 5 plays different. You lost by 34. You determined the game by looking at the dang scoreboard. And if this was even a 10-point game, 20-point game, maybe I would buy it a little bit. You lost by 34 points, had 1 touchdown on your second drive. By the way, Cooper Rush threw the same amount of touchdown passes he did to the Dallas Cowboys as he did to the Philadelphia Eagles. Because C.J. Gardner-Johnson picks him off on the opening drive and takes it all the way back for like a 70-yard pick six. Philadelphia's going to be scary. Wait till Jalen Hurts comes back after having all this time off in the first round, probably going to play the Packers, and watch him go off. Dolphins beat the Browns 20-3. There were only 2 late window games. Here's what I got to say. Miami's going to have a shot at the playoffs. They will need the Denver Broncos to lose to the backup Kansas City Chiefs, and they have to beat Aaron Rodgers, the terrible Jets team. It's not crazy. Do I think it'll happen? I don't, sadly. I do think the Broncos are going to beat the Chiefs because, they're going to have all their backups in. But that does not take away that who knows. Because, the Chiefs do own the Broncos. The Broncos have beaten one time in the last 10 years or something. They nearly beat them this year, but they missed the field goal. Got it blocked. I think Miami's going to. Miami looks good. They do. They are getting hot at the right time. Because they lost. Because really, you go back since that Thanksgiving game, they're 3-1. Only lost to the Texans by 8 points. Which, by the way, they had a chance of winning that football game. If I'm a lot of teams in the NFL and the AFC, you need to watch out for Miami because they get in that 7th spot and they're gonna have to go to Buffalo, sadly, and they're gonna lose because Tua cannot win in cold weather places. And I guarantee there might be snow on the ground for all we know, and Josh Allen is gonna just dominate this game. But it doesn't take away that if Miami can somehow squeeze into the 7th spot and maybe somehow beat Buffalo, I don't think they're gonna do much. But if they get in the playoffs, who knows? Maybe they can make some noise. But in the America's Game of the Week yesterday, the Vikings beat the Packers 27-25. Vikings now 14-2 on the year. Packers dropped to 11-5. So, real quick, 2 things we're going to talk about here. And I wanted to wait until this time. First up, there was a questionnaire on First Take. Who is having the more, I can't remember if it was better or more magical year. Or I think it was who's having the better year. I think is what the question was. And between the Lions or the Vikings, because they play each other on Sunday Night Football for the 1 seed. I think it's the Vikings. And as much as, the Lions have looked great this year, right? The Lions have looked great. They only have 2 losses. They're 14-2 on the year. They're having a great year. Does not take away that and they're having a great year. But I think a lot of people saw them around here. Maybe not 14 wins, maybe 12, 13 wins. There were many predictions saying that the Vikings were going to have 5 wins this year. It's not like this Vikings team is just this, whatever type of team. They are having this phenomenal season. They're getting all these great wins. Real quick, in my NFL predictions this year, I had the Vikings going 6-11. I had the Lions going 13-4. I think enough's been said there. That this Lions team, compared to the Vikings, I think the Vikings are having the more magical season, but still, both teams are having great years. And also the second question, or my second thing, is how is Green Bay going to show up in the playoffs? How are they going to show up in the playoffs? Because I'm not sure if I'm sold enough on Green Bay yet. They're 11-5. Real quick, the NFC has looked phenomenal this year. The fact that there is an 11-5 team at the 7th seed right now is crazy. How are they going to look in the playoffs? Because the Packers are a team right now that, sure, they got 11 wins. They had barely any good wins. I mean, really, look at this schedule. I'm going to go down here real quick. These are their wins. And we're going to go up. Colts just lost to the Giants. Titans, terrible. Rams, all right, good job. You beat the 3rd seed Rams, who at the time, the Rams were 1-4. Putting that out there real quick. You beat the Cardinals, who were 7-9. You beat the Texans, who were 9-7. All right, there you go. We're counting it. There's 2 now above 500 wins. The Jaguars, the Bears, 49ers. The Dolphins are not above 500. I'm not counting them. Seattle Seahawks, all right, 3. And the New Orleans Saints. They have 3 wins against teams above 500 this year. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it yet. I think there is a lot that needs to be still thought about before we really start to deep dive more into this Packers team. Because you're going to have to go to play Philadelphia. You are going to have to go and play. If you can somehow get past Philadelphia, which I don't think they will, you're going to have to go to, Detroit or Minnesota. It's going to be rough. I don't see this Packers team doing too much in the postseason. And finally, the last Sunday night game here, we still have 2 more games, but the Commanders beat the Falcons 30-24 in overtime. The Falcons now 8-8. The Commanders 11-5 in the season now. Washington, this was an interesting game. Because at first it looks like this Commanders team was going to dominate this game. Then it looked like Atlanta was going to blow them out. And then it turned out being a Commanders win. But Michael Penix, let me tell you, even though he had that interception on that opening drive, since then, after that play, he looked great. 223 yards, a touchdown, only got sacked twice. I thought he looked good out there. Went 19 for 35. Could have had some better completion attempt ratio, but it is what it is. I thought that the Falcons were going to win this football game. And the fact that they couldn't hit that field goal when they had a chance to do it, and I know they were on their back. Okay, your Younghoe Koo probably would have nailed that. But it is what it is if you're the Falcons. Because now the problem is you're going to need to beat the Panthers and you need the Bucs to lose to the Saints. That's your only way in. That's it to figure out if they're going to be able to get in the playoffs or not. And it's going to be tough. It really will be, and it sucks to say. But this Falcons team's probably going to miss the playoffs. And Washington being 11-5 on the year. Congrats to Washington. Real quick, let's give Washington a round of applause. 11-5 on the year now. They've looked good this year. They have looked good this year. I do think they have a chance to win the NFC East in like a few years. Birds are going to dominate when they have Jalen Hurts. Well, who said that? Anyways, finally, the Monday Night Football game. The Lions beat the 49ers 40-34. We need to talk about this real quick. And that is, why did the Lions play their starters? No, like, really. This game meant nothing for Detroit. It actually meant nothing. Because if they won this game, they'd still have a game next week for the 1 seed against the Vikings. If they lost, still have a game against the Vikings for the 1 seed. It didn't matter which way it was if they won or lost this game. The fact that they still beat and the Niners were calling out the Lions is a joke. Fred Warner, what are you doing? Your team was coming into the game at 6-9. You're 6-10 right now. Shut up about this. Oh, we're gonna come here. They're all here. The Lions here to show. Let's beat them. You have nothing to play for. You went 6-10 this year. And I know a lot of that was injuries, but not all of it was. Not all of it was injuries. Obviously, I know CMC was out, and hopefully he's back next year. But, like, Brock Purdy did not look good last night. Excuse me, not Brock Purdy. Deebo Samuel did not look good last night. Brock Purdy looked great, by the way. I apologize. I meant to say Deebo. Like, Deebo Samuel was not having a good game. It was a joke. Deebo Samuel had 1 catch last night for 5 yards. Last year, Deebo Samuel's going to have a great game. The Lions won this game. They didn't need to. But they said, no, let's just go out and win it. Why not? So good stuff in the Lions. And I just real quick, I forgot to talk about the Eagles versus Giants, because that's what I actually want to talk about, because that's really funny. So the Eagles either have 2 things they can do. Number 1, play Saquon Barkley. Right? Have Saquon go in, let him get his rushing record, and beat the Giants. Saquon can get the record against his former team. The team that traded him, that let him go. Let him test the market. The team that say, we're not going to pay him enough. It's not worth it. The guy that says, oh, I can't sleep at night if he goes to the Eagles. And he has a chance to beat the record against the New York Giants in his first year with the Eagles. Or Saquon doesn't get the rushing record. And the Giants win and worsen their draft spot. I mean, really, this would be super funny. The Eagles can do whatever they want here, and it will be good. What do I think personally? And that's a great question. So what do I think they should do? And I personally think that they should let him go. And let me tell you something. Here's what I want him to do, though. I don't want him trying to truck over players. I don't want him doing reverse hurdles. I want him running the ball, but I do not want him getting hit hard. Because it sounds like Nick Sirianni might be playing the dude. It does sound like it. I think that, because he was talking about, he was pretty much started off saying, I don't know, we'll see. The game doesn't really mean much, so it's not really anything really to look forward here. But he also was going off about, and also wanted player safety. But he also, I respect records a lot. So, I don't know. We'll find out later this week. Still nothing to be talked about yet of if or if not they will be doing it. The other thing is that I would let the dude do it. Like, he could do it against the team that traded him away in his first year on a new team. In the final week of the year, I would let him do it. But that's just me. I don't know. But so that will wrap up our Football Talks 4133 YouTube channel video today here of our Week 17 NFL thoughts and reactions. And yeah, see you.